In this tutorial, I'm using the xAPI export script that we created for Hype. We are going to expand on the result object within the xAPI statement. Previously, we have calculated duration, being the time spent on the knowledge check. Now, we are going to add a lot more detail to the result object. Just as a recap, we have our opening page triggers from the previous tutorials. On the next page, we will calculate the duration or time spent on the knowledge check. When someone makes a selection, we want to know whether it was right or wrong. The liver is the correct answer here. We want to add 10 points to that selection. 7 is the correct answer here. I'm planning not to select the correct answer. In effect, we won't add 10 points. You can minus marks if you want to as well. On the third question, I'm planning to make a correct selection. So when we go to the slide after the knowledge check, we need to check whether it is a passing score. We need to check whether the person completed the knowledge check and whether they were successful. Let's go back to our Great White Shark project. First, let's look at the xAPI detail and statement we want to send. As in our previous tutorial, we have the knowledge check result object here. We calculated the time a learner spent on the knowledge check slide. You can refer to the previous tutorial in this YouTube playlist if you want to recap. We added new attributes inside the result object that we want to calculate. Whether a learner completed the knowledge check, whether a learner was successful or passed the knowledge check. We also have some score details here. We can set the minimum score. In this use case, we set it up front. You can attach it to a variable if you want to. We can set the maximum score up front because we know what full marks for the quiz is. We have the raw value here. The raw value is the actual score. In our case, 10 out of 30, 20 out of 30, or 30 out of 30. The scaled value here is a value between 0 and 1. This is another way of expressing an outcome for a result. If you multiply a scaled value by 100, you will get a percentage outcome for the quiz. In our variables section here, we have some new variables for this tutorial. We have the raw value, which we set up front as 0. We'll adjust it from here depending on user interaction. We have the scale value, which I've set at 0. It will be adjusted depending on the outcome of the quiz. The variables for success and completion are set at false. We will change them to true depending on the outcome of the quiz. Back in our project, we will start work on the raw value for the result xAPI object. Let's look at how I've set it up on 2 questions. This is question 2. We have a run expression action here where we add 10 points for a correct selection a user makes. You can deduct points for incorrect selections depending on how you set up your rubric. We have the same setup for question 1. Let me show you how we do this on the third question. We run an expression on the click action and we will add 10 marks to the raw value when a user click the correct option. Okay, let's just double check that my spelling is correct. Yep, it is correct. So now for every correct selection of the knowledge check, we adjust that raw value variable that we've declared here in the xAPI variables. This raw value variable will be updated with a value that we set for each correct selection that was made. In this use case, we are adjusting it by 10. Okay, that's it for the first step. We need to also change the completion variable Boolean value to true once all 3 questions have been answered. We can adjust that on-scene unload because when the user moves on to the next scene, they would have had to complete all 3 questions. The user can't choose to skip a question within the current setup. Let me move this down because we cannot rearrange these actions. On this action, I'm going to use set custom data. Now we can change the completion variable to true. Okay, so now we've changed the completion boolean from false to true on scene unload. We have prepared actions for the raw value and we are updating completion. We still have to decide whether the knowledge check was completed successfully and also change the scaled value depending on the result of the raw value. To calculate whether the user was successful, I have prepared a JavaScript function. Hopefully they will give us the ability to rearrange actions soon. It is annoying doing it this way. I've called the JavaScript function check success, just to show you here. So I'm saying if the raw value is greater than 10, which means a user had to get 2 of the answers correct, we change the HypeXAPI success boolean or variable to true. So if a user gets more than 2 answers wrong, the success boolean will stay false. If a user gets 2 or more responses correct, the success boolean value will change to true. Cool. Now we also need to calculate the scaled value. So once again, I have to move this one down because we want the statement only to be sent after all the calculations are complete. I want to change this to run expression. So what I want to do is get the scaled value by taking the raw value and dividing it by 30. That will give me a value between 0 and 1 for the outcome. If a user gets all 3 correct, the raw value will be 30 and therefore the scaled value will be 1. Okay, so now we have set up the scaled value, success and completion, and we are calculating the raw value. Do we have everything? I think we've done them all. So now let's see how it all plays out in the end. Let's preview this. I will open the browser console. Here we have John Doe, who is experiencing the Great White Shark tutorial. If we scroll down to the bottom and we click Next, here are all our variables calculating. We have the hotspot, we have the scene name, we have the slide duration, which is not being calculated yet, the raw value and the other values counting and counting and counting. Let's start our knowledge check. Once I make a correct selection here, which is the liver, the raw value will update to 10. As you can see, it has updated here. Let's get the second one wrong. If I select 10 years, the raw value stays the same. On question 3, I select South Africa. The raw value is supposed to change to 20. It does change to 20, and our end statement is sent. Let's just quickly check here. We've got John Doe, who launched Knowledge Check 1. Introduction on the Great White Shark tutorial. Within the statement tutorial series. Time spent on the knowledge check was 52 seconds. John Doe did complete the knowledge check. His success is true because he got 20 out of 30, and the scaled value is 0.6. Cool, that's it. We have expanded on the result object within an xAPI statement using the export script in Hype. Hope you will have lots of fun with xAPI, and